Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz. This is Ron's Bank Shop Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Thursday, February 29th, 2024. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my college basketball Bank Shop best bet, you can find this at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. The final day of February. Here are the college basketball games. First up, we see Nebraska and Ohio State in the Big Ten. This one's going to be a 6:30 Eastern start time. It's going to be on Fox Sports 1. You know, we know Nebraska has been a much better team at home this season. They have a few true road wins, but not many. And I do think, with them on a 4-game win streak, we're actually getting a pretty good price fading them in this spot against an Ohio State team that we have to admit has played a lot better in recent games. Probably their best basketball of the season since firing, head coach Chris Holtmann. And, they beat Purdue outright. They beat Michigan State outright. You could say it's a little bit of a letdown spot for the Buckeyes after that road upset win against the Spartans. But still, Ohio State is playing so good right now. I mean, they're fundamentally sound. They're taking care of the basketball. Their offense hasn't been amazing, but the defense has really stepped it up. I mean, in that game against Michigan State, they held a really good Michigan State offense to 57 points. And it was a game where Ohio State shot poorly, 17.6% from three. And they were missing Battle, one of the better players. And they still got the job done in the end. So I just think with Nebraska, there's their road struggles and the fact that Ohio State should have a nice advantage on the offensive glass in this game. I got to go with the Buckeyes in this game. I think we're still getting a pretty good price with Ohio State. Still think they're one of the more undervalued teams in the Big Ten right now because of their record, 6-11 in conference play. So give me Ohio State in this one. I'm going to back them at home. Next up, we see Memphis and East Carolina. This one's going to be a 7 p.m. Eastern start time. It's going to be on ESPN2. It's tough to back bad defenses on the road, and this is probably the weakest defense that Penny Hardaway's had with his Memphis teams, since he took over. And I think with Memphis, when we've seen them in conference play, they have not fared too well in these road games. They lost to Tulane, UAB, North Texas, and SMU all outright. And while East Carolina might not be on the same level as most of those teams, I still think it's a solid team. I think honestly an underrated team. And East Carolina, they lost to Rice last time out. Not a great loss on the road, but that was on the road. They returned home here where they won their last 2 games, and they were actually, they've won 3 of the last 4 games overall. A team that I think is going to have a nice advantage on the offensive glass because, both teams are solid offensive rebounding teams. Both teams aren't the best on the defensive glass, but really Memphis has really struggled on the defensive side, ranked 330th in defensive rebounding percentage. Also, East Carolina does a really good job at not only forcing turnovers like Memphis does, but taking care of the basketball. Memphis has had a problem turning the ball over 18% of the time on their offensive possessions. And when you're on the road, that's really like a recipe for disaster. If you can't take care of the defensive glass and you turn the ball over, teams could get a lot of fast break points, and those are the types of points that get the crowds going. And East Carolina is one of those types of teams that their offense isn't amazing in the half court. They're not an amazing shooting team, 302 in three-point shooting, 297 in effective field goal percentage, but they force those turnovers and they get those second chance looks. That's where they score a lot of their points. And I think East Carolina is actually a good matchup for them. And at home, I'm going to take them in this spot. Next up, we see Michigan and Rutgers. This one's going to be a 8:30 Eastern start time. It's going to be on Fox Sports 1. Now, when you look at the first matchup between these two teams in the season series, it was a 10-point win for Rutgers. So, sure, Michigan's playing with revenge, but in that ball game, Rutgers, they won the game by 10 points despite being outshot by about 10 percentage points or more from 2-point range, 3-point range, and the free throw line. They were outshot across the board, but they still won the game, Rutgers did, by double digits because they had 9 more offensive rebounds, they forced 10 more turnovers, including 8 steals, and they played sustainably sound basketball. And now, at home here, Michigan, I was willing to take the points with Michigan in this last game against Purdue because it was at home. We were getting a boatload of points and in a rivalry game, but we're not getting that many points here because it's Rutgers on the other side. It's been one of the weaker teams, another disappointing team this season. But, sure, Michigan gets McDaniel back for this game because, he was suspended on the road, but they're going to lift that suspension going forward. But, Kumwa's out. He's out for the season, and he played in that first matchup against Rutgers. He had 14 points in that game. So I got to go with Rutgers here. I think they're the much better team. I think it's a really good matchup for them. Give me Rutgers. I'm going to lay the points. Next up, we see New Mexico State and Liberty. This one's going to be a 9 p.m. Eastern start time. It's going to be on CBS Sports Network. New Mexico State is looking more and more like the team we faded quite a bit, and the team has struggled a lot at the beginning of the season. New Mexico State had a little nice run there at the middle of the year where they had a stretch of 2-game win streaks in conference play. But now, they got a few key players back in the middle of the season, and that really helped them. But now they're dealing with some more injuries, so it's just kind of the same thing we saw at the beginning of the year. They're on that 5-game losing streak. They lost their last 3 true road games, and 2 of those were absolute blowouts. And Liberty, they're looking for a bounce back win. They lost their last 2 games, but both of those were on the road. They returned home here, where their last home game was a win over arguably the best team in this conference in Louisiana Tech. I just think that New Mexico State offensively really struggling, turning the ball over too much, not shooting the ball very well. They're one of the weakest rebounding teams in this conference. And then the defense, while, it's a defensive-minded head coach in Jason Hooten from Sam Houston, and they're forcing some turnovers, they're also a really aggressive defense, so they take a lot of fouls. While Liberty doesn't do an amazing job of getting to the free throw line, I still think Liberty has a big advantage on both ends of the court, and add the home court advantage and the revenge factor, as Liberty lost in overtime in the first meeting of the season series. I just think it's a really good spot and a really bad spot. A really good spot for Liberty and a really bad spot for New Mexico State. So I'm going to lay the points here with the Flames at home. Next up, we see Gonzaga and San Francisco. This one's going to be 11 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on ESPN2. I'm looking at the total in this game. I think both defenses are a bit overrated. And, San Francisco, they're ranked 42nd in adjusted defensive efficiency. They don't really force a lot of tough shots, though, and especially from the perimeter, they're not the best three-point defense, ranked 191st in the nation. Gonzaga hasn't relied on the three-point jumper as much as we've seen in recent years, but we still know that this is a good shooting team. They create good looks. They take care of the basketball, and they're also a really good offensive rebounding team. So I think Gonzaga, a fast-paced and potent offense, will be able to score well in this game, just like they did in the first matchup of the season series. But I think San Francisco competes as well. San Francisco, a solid offense, a good shooting team. Gonzaga also struggles to defend the perimeter, and San Francisco scores a good amount of its points from three-point range. They're also, both teams, good free throw shooting teams, especially San Francisco. I think we see a high-scoring, probably fast-paced game. I think it's a huge one for Gonzaga because it's they're right now in the bubble, and this would be a nice win for the resume. But it's also important for San Francisco because they any chance they get to beat Gonzaga, they'll take. As Gonzaga, they've suffered a lot of losses to Gonzaga over the years, and now San Francisco's program is improving. They're ready to compete in a matchup like this. So I'm going to take the over here in Gonzaga San Francisco. Should be a really entertaining game. And that's it. Those are the games for Thursday in college hoops. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.